What's up, guys? Ford 500 right here, replacing a brake caliper. Don't mind that light. I was shining it right on my spring so I could see where the tabs are. I'll explain it to you. All right, so what you want to do is just get down to this point, basically. You don't have to get down to this point. Pretend the rotor's still there. I decided to put it back together for a video. So your rotor's still on, your caliper, everything's hooked up. You're changing a caliper, right? If you want to know how to change rear or front brakes, put in FerKerl Ford 500. You'll find it. All right. So the trickiest part is the e-brake cable. You can see if this flash would come on, but it's not. Right there, you see that little clip? Right there? Right there, there's one on the other side that holds it together. And there is, it keeps it from coming out. And there's a split right here in the bracket. So when you want to grab it with some vice grips or channel locks or anything, and you can actually turn this e-brake cable so that it lines up with the open end. And then your other end is right here. So you put a screwdriver in between the spring and the bracket, and it stays in there by itself and pushes that other clip in. So this one can come straight out because of this little opening, and this one is pressed in with a screwdriver. Then the next thing we do, of course my ratchet fell down. We got a 13mm on the back of the caliper, and that swivels the whole bracket. Let's see if we can get a better view of that. There we go. It's a lever, and it swivels the whole bracket if you turn it clockwise. So, I did this by myself. I'm experienced with them. It's a lot easier to have another person turning the ratchet, but I just hold on to the vice grips, slight pressure backwards. You don't really need any. If you have both of your clips clipped in real good, then it's gonna come back on its own. You turn the ratchet, and as long as both those clips are in, it'll come backwards. It's a good idea to spray it with PB Blaster if it's this rusty. Like that is completely rusted to that. It won't move. I gotta separate those. But now that this e-brake cable is pushed backwards, it's actually would spring right back into place, but I got it caught on the lip just to show you in the video. Now, we'll set the camera down so I have two hands. Now, with that little opening, you can press the cable right through. So I'll pull back on my vice grips, swivel over to the side. There we go, I'm right near that opening, but my caliper is not tightened down all the way, so it's pushed back further. I can't get it through just because I loosened the caliper on myself. So I'll use this screwdriver to kind of guide it through that hole, that opening. Come on, caliper, squeeze in, give me a little more room. There we go. Oh, it looks like I'm caught on the edge of the spring because of the way I took it off to show you with the camera. Well, edge of the spring is caught. Won't allow it to come through, so I'm going to press that spring with a screwdriver, get it out of the way. It's a little tricky. Definitely need two hands. Yeah, that spring just won't get out of the way. I need three hands. Every time I try to bring it out through the hole, the spring gets in my way. If I would have took it out the first time instead of filming, it would have just came right through. I kind of screwed myself. Can I actually see what I'm doing better? That's ridiculous too. It's out of its home. Its little keeper right here, see? All right. Now we should just be able to slide this right over, right? Except for this is rotted together completely. So I'm gonna turn the camera off and start hammering it. Another thing you can do, if that's a real pain, is you can take these Allen bolts out in the back of the caliper. I know my filming absolutely sucks today and everything's going wrong. I can't even move this caliper. It's hooked on stuff. Right there, there's some Allens that you can take off. You can take apart all that stuff. Makes this a lot easier to get out. I just wanted to do it that way to show you. All right, before you unbolt your caliper, like I just did, make sure you crack free your brake hose. That's a 16 millimeter. Just crack it free, just a little bit. Just a little. All right, now I gotta get this to separate from that. It's completely rust welded together. All right, I took my little Dremel tool and knocked off some rust, smacked it with a hammer lightly a couple times, sprayed it down with PB Blaster. Now this cable will just pull right off of there. This guy is rusty. Bada boom, eh? Easy. All right, now we cracked that free, right? Made sure it's nice and loose. What we can actually do now is just spin the caliper to take that hose off. And the first thing we're gonna do with our new caliper is spin it on. See it spinning? All right. New caliper came with a new mounting bracket, so I had to take that off. The new one was 14 millimeter on those bolts instead of 13. There we go. Now we spin our caliper off. We're going to lose some brake fluid. That's perfectly fine. There we go. She's off. Now the tricky part, spinning your new caliper on. Getting that first thread put in perfect. If it's not going in smooth like butter like this, make sure your threads are clean on your brake hose. Make sure you don't got a bad thread in your caliper. Make sure you're not cross-threading. I'm just holding that brake line still and spinning the caliper on. We're gonna grab 16 millimeter wrench. And I just snug it up. Nothing too extreme right now because we're gonna, enough to keep it from leaking brake fluid on us, right? All right, now I'm gonna get the rotors and the mounting bracket put on. I've got all that in my brake video if you wanna check that out. And then we'll show you putting this back on. A lot easier than taking it off. All right, got our brakes back together, you know. Rotor, little set screw, mounting bracket with pads, new hardware, all that, caliper tightened down. Now we go to our 16 mil. And just tighten that down a little bit. Brake hose, there we go. Nice and smooth. All right, now we can wrap this little guy around here. Bada boom. And we need to fit the cable in between there. So we're gonna pull forward on this cable with one hand and back with this. You can put the vice grips around there, not too tight that you break something, and we'll squeeze that through. Grab that spring real loosely with some vice grips. Not enough to smush it or anything. His teeth will kind of grab onto it, and you can pull your spring back. If you have two people, oh my God, what a world of a difference this job makes. I'm gonna get it right on the edge of that spring. Loosen her up a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Now it's snapped in. Look at that. Let's see if we can get some lighting. See, right in there. Boom. Make sure your e-brake cable is all the way forward. There we go. All right, brake bleeding time. Not my most professional video, I don't care. Sometimes you just have days where your hands are tired. All right, now we're gonna open up that bleeder screw. Looks to be a 10 mil or a 3/8. And we're gonna bleed the brakes. There's lots of videos on brake bleeding. But yeah, I'm not gonna show it. Check out one of my videos, check out somebody else's. We're gonna bleed the brakes and then put the tire back on, pump the brake pedal until they get stiff, prime them. Make sure you do that. And make sure you bleed your brakes. See you.